Okay, Asumi-san, thank you for arigato gozaimasu for talking with me. So good to see you. We
Thanks so
we
much. Yeah, it's good to see you too.
when did we first talk? Do you remember what year that was?
Um, I think it was 2020 or 2021. Probably 2020.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Great.
Yeah.
So now you're in Scotland in
Yep.
university. What brought you? Why Scotland? Why this university?
So, yeah, it's kind of like a long story. I knew I wanted to study in another country for my undergraduate studies because I kind of always wanted to live abroad, and I wanted to learn something like specific for sustainability and climate change in general. So like looked for a lot of universities around the world, and I don't know. I think there are mainly two reasons why I chose this uni. So the first one is that I got a scholarship for a British university. So if I were to go to a university in the UK, I was able to get like full funding for my tuition fees,
Fabulous.
accommodation fees. Yeah, so I got accepted to that scholarship first, like before even applying to any universities. And I kind of wanted to go to Europe because I felt like the activism and I don't know, academics for sustainability are quite strong in Europe. So, and I got a scholarship for the UK. So I thought, yeah, I would just go to the UK. And then I looked up a lot of universities in the UK and this university. So I got to the University of Edinburgh. This university has like a unique program of, it's called Sustainable Development. And it's like really specific for like sustainability and social sciences for like human nature relationships, etc. And I knew that I wanted to study something about sustainability, but I knew also I wanted to um, study it from the perspective of social sciences rather than like natural sciences. So this is probably like one of the very few undergraduate programs that focus on sustainability from social science perspective. So that's why I chose this university, and I really like my degree program. Yeah.
And how do you like living in Edinburgh?
So it's very different from like living in Japan, of course, or so I was also in Canada for a year when I was in high school as an exchange student, and it's so different from Canada as well. I don't know, like all the buildings in the city are so beautiful, like so I don't know, classic and
Old.
yeah,
A
very
lot of
old
history.
from the medieval era, so it's very old. And then, oh, the English was a massive culture shock for me because I learned North American English at school and I went to Canada. So my accent is kind of fixed to North American English. But here, I don't know, there are a lot of English people, Scottish people, or Irish people, or people from all around the world. So I hear so many kinds of accents and it's so difficult to kind of like understand like a lot of kinds of English, basically. So, yeah, it was such a culture shock for me.
Mm. Um, what I'm curious, I just got back from Iceland and it seemed like when I've traveled to other countries in the US, people are much more relaxed, calm, less stressed. The US seems to me uniquely stressed. And I wonder if you find in that people are more easygoing because they have social supports and medical insurance and free education and I don't know. But you haven't been to the US, right? So you can't
Oh
really.
no, I have actually. I
Oh,
went there like last summer. I went to California. Um, but yeah, it was only for like a week. so I wasn't really immersed into the culture or anything like that. But yeah, I feel like in North America in general, there's like a fast-paced culture, so like everything needs to be kind of like instant, fast, and everything needs to be kind of convenient, etc. But I think in Europe it's much more different. People are, yeah, relaxed and like focus more on the quality of life rather than,
Mm,
I don't know, career aspects or just mere convenience or yeah. So a lot of things are, I don't know, in a way inconvenient in Europe,
hmm.
especially like compared to, I don't know, North America or probably Japan as well. Um,
What's
I
an
don't know,
example?
the stores close so early. Like a lot of like the cafes and stuff like close at 4 p.m. or like 3 p.m. And grocery stores are also not like 24/7. They close at, I don't know, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or yeah, especially like outside the city center. So yeah, I feel like people are more relaxed and workers also want to take a rest rather than like prioritize convenience for customers, I feel like.
When I think about being in Japan, I think Tokyo's pretty fast paced. I
Mhm.
don't think of Tokyo people as being relaxed. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when I go to Tokyo, it feels quite overwhelming. Like all the people were in rush for something. They kind of seem to prioritize their work over their life aspects, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's changing. I mean, the typical family structure used to be the salary man who
Mm.
went with colleagues after work to the bars and drank sake, and the wife did all the child rearing and house management. But I think that's changing with younger generation. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. That's really changing. I think that generation of like my parents had that kind of atmosphere a bit, but my family was quite different, I think. My mom continued working even after she had me. And but like she was one of the few women who did that. Um, but I think younger generations um who are probably around like in their 30s or 40s right now have much more different like gender equal um kind of like atmosphere, I guess.
Right. So you founded the Fridays for Future chapter in Nagano. So what got you feeling passionate about climate change? What motivated you?
Oh, so it might be like a really typical answer, but it was Greta. Um, so like when I was like 15 or 14, the movement of Fridays for Future by Greta was such a big thing.
Thunberg.
And I saw it like the Japanese media and like everywhere back then.
Oh,
But like back then I wasn't really, so when I was 14 or something, I didn't know anything about climate change or anything about like environmental problems in general. But it was such a massive thing, and I knew it was like, I don't know, a lot of people in the world were so like passionate about like climate change or sustainability. So I saw like a book at like a local bookstore about Greta. I think it was written by Greta and her family.
her mother. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was so curious about it, and I took it and I just bought it and read it at home. And that's the first time I knew like quite a lot about like climate change and what's actually happening in the world. And it was so shocking to me because I felt like that was such a like threatening and destructive thing, but I didn't really know it was such a big thing. And I kind of back then I was like I didn't think environmental problems were such an, I don't know, important thing to think about. But that book really changed my perception to like
The
climate
book
change
is
and
titled,
everything.
excuse me, I looked it up. Our
Yeah.
House is on Fire.
Oh yeah, that
Scenes
one.
of a
Yeah.
Family and a Planet in Crisis by
Mm,
Greta and her mother.
yeah. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and then after that, like everything really changed. Like in my my how I like perceive climate change and everything. And yeah, I just wanted to do something um for it because like Greta and other like people in my generation are doing the same. So, and then I joined some sort of like online student environmental organization before like joining the Fridays for Future Japan community and like founding the Nagano branch. Um, yeah. And my passion for sustainability has been unchanged even now. I'm studying sustainable development at uni. So, yeah.
Right. So I'm really interested in tactics, what works, what doesn't work. So from what you're learning at university, from what you've seen in Scotland, in Canada, in Japan, what works? In our interview in Climate Girls Saving the World, you mentioned strikes, digital strikes, talking to politicians, educational events, organizing by consensus. So could you comment on those tactics and what else you've learned since then, since we talked 5 years ago?
So, mm, like, so you mean like what works in terms of like, um,
Making a difference, making a change, convincing politicians they should, um, limit global warming causes like fossil fuel consumption. How do you
so,
make change?
mm, so one of the things, I don't know, I need to say, but might disappoint the audience and you, is that, so like back then I was kind of really like, um, so I'm now even like I'm now passionate about sustainability as well. But back then I was so passionate about it and I wanted to do like everything for to kind of tackle climate change and make a sustainable society. And I wasn't really sure what kind of things I actually wanted to do or like what kind of like activism or what kind of
What can
uh
one person do? Yeah.
yeah. And so after becoming the leader of Fridays for Future Shinshu, I just felt like being a leader of a student-led organization like this is not really for me. Like I feel like some people are so like suitable in like being a leader of an organization or being like a loud activist of um being like an iconic like loud activist like Greta. Um but I felt like it was not something I actually like I really wanted to do, even though I was so like passionate about like sustainability and I wanted to make a difference as an individual. Um, so after that I kind of like it was much more internal, so I feel like there's like a aspect of what works for society, but I've also thought about like what works for me as an individual, as someone passionate about like sustainability, and in what kind of ways I'm the most suitable to make a change.
Effective. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've thought about it, and now I'm more clear about like how I want to like approach to this issue, and I how like also what kind of career I want to do in the future, like hopefully. Yeah, so I've like back then I did everything. I wanted to do everything, but now I'm like I want to do the things like that are suitable for me and make a difference. Um, I think being clear about like what you want to do and what you can do is a big step for you to actually make a difference as well. So,
So, like
like,
an introvert probably isn't going to be the face of public speaking, but let the introvert be the researcher or that kind of thing.
oh yeah, I actually kind of, um, I actually figured that. what I actually want to do for sustainability is more like a research rather than activism for me. I'm also kind of like a really curious person, and I'm a kind of person who wants to figure out the systems or um, I don't know, the historical reasons why this kind of crisis happened and what like we can learn about it and how we can kind of make a difference in society. So my career goal right now, um, well, yeah, my career goal right now is to be a researcher in the future, and then doing a like social scientific research for sustainability and climate change mitigation. Yeah.
So in terms of social science, what are you learning about what makes people say, I'm gonna buy an e-vehicle and not a gas guzzling automobile, or I'm gonna recycle, or I'm gonna you know, not buy an appliance that isn't certified efficient, or I'm gonna put solar panel. I mean, how do you influence people? What are you finding in your research?
So so yeah, it's kind of um like I learned quite a lot at the university. I've been in uni for three, no, yet 2 years by now, and I don't know. As I'm learning, I've I started to feel like the like root issue is much deeper. I feel like I don't know, it's kind of really difficult to explain, but I'm researching quite a lot about like modern social structure and how it kind of encourages people to not engaging in like environmentally friendly like actions like I don't know, whatever that is. And how we came to kind of like perceive nature as something fundamentally different from human world and fundamentally like as resources like useful for the humans and that kind of like
So
core perception.
Judeo-Christian influences,
Mm.
capitalism, what
Yeah.
what do you see, how do you name the determinants of this social structure?
Um, I think it's kind of like probably Eurocentrism and colonialism as well. Um, so yeah, Judeo-Christian influence is for sure, but I in the modern era um there was like a rise of dualism, so between like the mind and the body, and eventually the nature and culture, so nature and the human world. And the humans started to perceive nature or like the environment as something to be like something to exploit and just use them and like fundamentally different from their world, their cultured world. And that also led to the notion of like being like regarding non-Western societies as primitive and like closer to nature. Um,
And the
like,
same with women, women viewed as
oh
close to
yeah,
nature, lesser than men.
yeah, yeah, that kind of yeah, yeah. I also learned about like um, nature to culture, and women to men. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of I feel like a lot of social systems like colonialism, capitalism, and patriarchy are so linked to each other, and it's kind of like I don't know, I couldn't see the link or I couldn't see the connection to the climate change or all these kind of modern social structures, but now I can see it quite clearly because of yeah what I learned at uni. So yeah, I'm not really sure what kind of specific topic I wanna research in the future, but I will definitely delve into these kind of things like um, the modern social structure and how that influenced how we perceive nature, nature-human relationships. Yeah.
And again, to go back to the question, how do we change that worldview?
yeah, it's very difficult. I feel like after learning that, I felt like um, I was also like I took that view for granted. Um I thought it was like so normal to divide nature and humans and consider like Europe superior to other parts of the world, even though like I wasn't so conscious about it. Um mm, I feel like the voices like mine could be quite like useful in this kind of discourse because like Japan is not really a Western country, but so we're kind of culturally quite different. But we got influenced by these Western ideals as well. Um, I feel like a lot of Japanese people share the worldview with like people in Europe or North America, which kind of sees nature as just resources for humans. Um, And I feel like this kind of unique positionality of mine can be quite like um useful to challenge the view and suggest an alternative view that could lead to a more sustainable society, I
Do
think.
you use social media to share your understandings?
Oh yeah, actually yeah. I follow a lot of like Instagram accounts from like media or activists or scholars or I don't know, academic organizations or like I follow really a lot of accounts on Instagram and it kind of pops up on my feed and I share the posts when I find it um insightful. And I also do that on LinkedIn as well. Yeah.
You it seems to me that to make change, it's more effective if there's a group than one individual. So you're
Mm.
right, one individual has to figure out their talent, but it's stronger if it's in a group. So to go back to Nagano and Fridays for Future, what did you find works? Like you at that point, the group was and Fridays for Future focused on consensus decision making. But that can drive people crazy if there's long meetings and people talk and talk and talk and nothing much comes out of it. So what's your point of view now about how a group can make decisions and take action?
Yeah, so I was in like another student organizations as well. So I was in another like more I don't know, smaller organizations, and I was also in the Fridays for Future Japan community. And I felt like the Fridays for Future community took much kind of longer to make decisions. And I felt like the organizations of that group was much more complicated and sometimes ineffective. I don't know, that's just my impression. But on the other hand, the other like smaller group I was in had quite like a I don't know, I just felt like that organization worked quite better in terms of what kind of projects they do and what kind of policy recommendation they send to the government or
Is that because they were smaller and didn't could get things done faster, or what? Why were they more effective?
mm, I feel like Fridays for Future was such a massive movement and a lot of people wanted to join it and a lot of people wanted to organize like events or local climate march or and a lot of things. And I felt like there was no like specific ideals of the organizations. So like Fridays for Future itself has of course like ideals and what they want to
A
achieve.
platform, yeah.
Yeah, but Fridays for Future Japan was quite so a lot of people with different goals and different like ideals for activism kind of gathered together quite like fast, and they formed like an organization. And a lot more people joined as they kind of started to um, establish local branches. And I felt like there was no single direction of the organization, probably. Um, I think that was the difference. Um, like, I think the number of people was also a factor, but the like clear direction of what they want to achieve and what kind of things they want to do is also a big factor for like the effectiveness of their activism, I feel like.
I'm thinking about in the US, I would say Sunrise Movement. Are you familiar with them?
Probably no.
They're probably the biggest youth
Mm.
directed climate change organization. And it seems to me that their tactic and a lot of progressive group tactics are you tell your story.
Mm.
So, my house was inundated by floodwaters in Louisiana. I've experienced the floods from climate change. Listen to me and know that change needs to happen. Um, I'm wondering if you think that's an effective tool. Tell your story.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I agree. Um, and in terms of that, probably Japan is a bit difficult for that kind of tactic to work or for someone to establish that kind of story because I feel like Japan is such a homogeneous community, and I think in the discussion of climate change, the like racial inequality or like things related to kind of colonialism. So like a lot of the marginalized communities in society get affected more by climate change. And that can be a really powerful source for a story like that. But in Japan, there's no really established public discourse on post-colonialism or like inequality between global north and global south. Um, so because of that, it's kind of difficult for like tell a story like that for Japanese people and mobilize Japanese society. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I've been feeling um, from my experience in Japan and in Scotland or like in the West, where post-colonialist discourse is quite strong. Um, yeah.
I haven't heard Fridays for Future organizing big global marches or boycotts or strikes for a long time. Do you know what's happening to Fridays for Future? And I know Greta gets routinely arrested and she's protesting, but what about FFF?
Um, I'm actually now not a member of Fridays for Future Japan, and I'm not really sure the situation of them right now. But I just feel like so in 2019 or 2020 or 2021, around that time people were quite like focusing on climate change or environmental crisis. But now I feel like a lot more social issues emerged, like I don't know, the rise of populism or like the wars and economic crisis, and a lot of people kind of started to like get less motivated for like activism for like
Mm,
the environment because I don't know, like a lot of things happening in the world right now can be quite depressing and
dramatic.
yeah, and a lot of people face like um immediate issues as well from economic crisis and inflation. Um, so yeah, it just I don't know, it's kind of yeah, it's been a difficult time for climate activism, I feel like.
what do you see happening in Edinburgh or UK in terms of I'm trying to remember the name of the radical group who would like glue themselves to the wall or tie themselves to the fence. What was their name? Do you know?
In the UK?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not really sure actually.
They used to make headlines all the time, and I haven't heard about that kind of radical action. So is anything happening in Scotland?
Um, I've never I've been here for 2 years by now, and I haven't really heard of like a big environmental like activism or march in the city, or anything like that. Probably I'm just not following the news or um so like at the university or at like local shops there are a lot of like sustainability initiatives and there are a lot of projects in that. But I feel like it's shifting like from like a big mass movement to I don't know, small like continuous like actions, I feel like. Or yeah, I'm not really
Oh,
yeah sure.
they're called Extinction Rebellion.
Oh,
And they still are doing things like they threw paint at a Van Gogh museum and that kind of thing. Um,
well,
they
I've heard of the Van Gogh painting
Yeah.
news.
Extinction Rebellion, they want to halt reopening disused coal plants, cancel new drilling projects, increase focus on solar and wind energy, no gas, no carbon. So, but you don't hear of anything like that in Scotland, it sounds like.
Not really.
Hmm.
I heard of the like mass movement against Donald Trump visiting Scotland when he was there. Um
He's going to London this week.
oh
It's so funny. He wants to be an autocrat and a king. So he's so eager to meet the king and have ride in a carriage and have all this ceremony. So the Brits are giving it to him so he will support NATO and Ukraine. So
oh I
they know,
see.
everybody knows now the way to deal with him is to flatter his ego. So they're going, stroke, Donald, stroke, stroke, stroke. Give us weaponry against Ukraine. We'll give you a carriage ride. He goes,
Mm,
okay. It's very sad.
yeah.
It's a child. Oh my goodness. Um, okay. Then when you've done educational events in the past, what does that mean? You mentioned it in our interview 5 years ago.
So, I organize an event for students where like we made kind of like presentation on climate change and plastic pollution as well
Mm,
to kind of inform basic stuff of what's happening in the world in terms of climate crisis and plastic pollution. And yeah, we had discussions with um, the participants who were mostly like middle school students or high school students.
wow. You've read the studies that we all have trillions of little microplastic particles in our bodies. It's so creepy. It's
Yeah,
in
I've heard of
breast
that
milk and all.
recently.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, I feel like the discussion of microplastic has been quite present since 2020 or 2019 even. But I think I'm following like scientific news and scientists are more clear about how much of like a lot of more detailed things like how much plastic we actually accumulate in our body and yeah, it's quite scary to know.
Yeah. Um, I talked to Lillian, who introduced you and
Oh.
me, and she said that she was is in kind of involved with a group in Japan that's dealing with climate anxiety and how
Oh,
to
I see.
help people get through that. So I'm wondering what you're hearing about young people and climate anxiety, or are they talking in Scotland and Japan about youth anxiety and depression in general?
So, in Japan, I'm not really sure. Like, I haven't lived there for a long time actually. But from what I remember, in Japan, it's much more difficult to discuss mental health problems or even kind of like say that like you have some sort of mental health issue. Whereas in Scotland, I feel like people are more comfortable talking about it quite openly, and like a lot of events or initiatives from university also talk about like mental health problems. Um, yeah, I've been quite surprised at how like my university um helps students get through like their mental health issues. For example, there are a lot of um so like tutors send us like mental health maintenance tips, like how to kind of I don't know, get through like loneliness or anxiety for assignments or things like that. And also the student accommodation organizes a lot of, I don't know, meditation sessions or yoga sessions, which are good for mental health. And also if you're struggling with some issues when you were about to submit assignments, you can kind of um, submit exceptional circumstances
Hmm.
form to inform them that you're struggling and you need a few more days to submit the essay.
Ah.
Um, so I think it's quite unbelievable in a Japanese education organization. Um, I don't know, yeah, it's so yeah, they care much more about students' mental health here, I feel like.
When next time you get one of those, I'd appreciate it. You forward it to me so I can see and use that as an example of.
Oh yeah, sure.
What do you hear about problems? This is a different subject, really, but with students relying too much on Chat GPT to write their essays and that kind of
Oh, I
thing.
see. Yeah, it's been quite, yeah, discussed a lot at my uni as well. All the courses have like guidelines for AI and
Like
um
you can use it for research, but not for writing, or how do they say it, the guidelines?
so yeah, I think that's pretty much what you said. So like we are not allowed to like produce actual texts using AI. And I think they can tell that you used AI because the like system kind of flags it up. So, but I feel like I don't know, a lot of students use ChatGPT for like not for writing, but for mm, making sense of readings or um
It gives you an outline,
summarizing
an
content.
overview. It gives you kind of a framework, and then you think, oh, I really want to look into that, and I
Mm.
really want to look into that. So I find it useful in giving the broad picture of what's available out there. That's useful.
Yeah, actually, I feel like I'm not really sure, like, um, mm, like my university is quite like against using AI at all for
Oh,
anything, probably. That's just the impression I got from the tutors or like what the emails or guidelines says. But it could be useful in some ways. Of course, like producing the text itself is not really. I think you need to write your own sentences, but like for researching or for understanding um like complicated concepts, um I think AI could be useful um in a lot of ways.
yeah. I'm kind of hopping around here, but do you also hear people talk about neurodivergence and being on the spectrum or having dyslexia or ADHD, or is that something that people talk about as well as anxiety and depression?
I think so. I'm not sure, but like I saw an article that people who are diagnosed as neurodivergent are rising, the number is rising, and I feel like people are more aware of neurodivergence, and now a lot of my friends talk about theirs as well. I have a lot of friends who are actually diagnosed as neurodivergent, and um,
In
I
Scotland?
myself can be. I feel like I haven't been diagnosed at all, but yeah.
What makes you think you might be a little spectrumy?
So, I think I have definitely ADHD tendency, so I'm really bad at organizing things, and I tend to lose a lot of things. I lost my earphones 2 days ago, and I found it in a really weird place. And that kind of thing happened quite a lot. And also, I might be ASD, but I'm not really kind of I think I have more ADHD tendency than ASD, and I researched more about ADHD. So, yeah, I but I feel like I shouldn't say much before actually getting the diagnosis. But yeah.
I don't think you're on the spectrum. I don't. Um, have we left anything out that you would like to get out there in terms of what we can do to fight the climate change? What are effective tactics? How do you convince politicians that Trump is wrong, that climate change isn't a man-made thing and it'll make the beaches bigger?
Um, yeah, it's a big question I've been thinking for a few years, and yeah, I sometimes feel a bit hopeless about like how the world politics is going right now.
Because it's gotten
But
worse rather than better. That's very depressing.
yeah, um, but I feel like the things I've been learning at the university can be quite useful to like stop the emergence of populism or anti-environment politicians.
They kind of go
And
together.
yeah,
The autocrats are
yeah, exactly,
anti-activism.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of things, a lot of concepts or a lot of the stories like nature culture divide, etc. They feel like they're only in the academia right now, and a lot of like wider public doesn't really know about it. It hasn't become a public discourse yet. So um like as a student or as a scholar in the future, I can kind of spread that kind of stories, especially to Japan, probably because of the language barrier. It's much harder for Japanese people to access that kind of scholarship. So I could be the bridge between Western academia and Japan, I feel like. So, yeah.
I think I sent you a copy of my book, Calm, How to Thrive in Challenging Times. Did you have a chance to look at that?
Um,
I think I sent you a PDF.
oh, I couldn't really see the PDF probably.
Okay, I'll send it to you again because
Yeah, that'd be great,
I want to see
actually.
if you think it's useful or not to you and other people. Um, so anything else that comes to mind?
Mm, probably no. I think I've talked quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.